And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. This is your host, Rico. We are doing a post-game recap of the Commanders at Buccaneers. Unfortunately, it is not Victory Monday for our Commanders. We get beat 37-20, and what a rough day for the defense. We're going to be breaking down an article by Hog Haven talking about the studs and duds in this particular game. But let's start off statistically where we're at. Got to give credit where credit is due. I think that Baker Mayfield had quite the day. 24 of 30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 sack. He had a QBR of 86.1. I think that Baker Mayfield really took advantage of our secondary, and I had picked this game to be 24-23 in favor of the Washington Commanders, and I thought it had to do with a lot of just taking away a lot of things in the secondary, and that's something that we weren't able to do. I thought we were going to be much improved in that area this coming year. But, Baker Mayfield and these Bucs did win their division last season. We knew it was going to be a tough day for the defense and really going to be a challenge because Mike Evans is coming in after having 10 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving campaigns. I think Chris Godwin is coming in off of 3 consecutive 1,000-yard campaigns. And I want to say that both of those players had a big day on us. In fact, when you look at it, their longest were 24 yards. So that's the longest reception that they had on the day. But more importantly, Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns on the day. Chris Godwin had a touchdown as well, 83 yards for Godwin and then 61 yards for him. And then Rashard White, who I think is a better pass catcher than he is just a runner out of the backfield, had 6 for 75 and 32 was his longest. So every one of these wide receivers / backs that caught out of the backfield really ripped off chunk plays. And I think that is the story of the ball game. And I know we talked about the sacks and just the 1 sack. I think that the pressure, it was there, but it was just so many gaping holes in the secondary that by the time the pass rush did get there, that ball is off. It was just huge chunk plays. And I think that is really what hurt us. And so as we look and break down this article, we start with the positives for the Washington Commanders. And we look at Jaden Daniels. I think that Jaden Daniels did a terrific job in coming out. And I think just really not turning the football over. Let me go ahead and give him credit there. All right. So the fact that he didn't turn the football over, I think was a plus. And I think it was huge that he was able to really buy some time. And I think he probably did best with going ahead and utilizing these scrambles and turning them into positive yards, which you see there. And in fact, he ran and actually led us in rushing, which I don't like to see, but I'm glad to see that he did something with his run. 16 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the day. So he didn't get a throwing touchdown, but he did a great job as far as getting out of the pockets and creating positive yards, because that's one of the things that I talked about was keeping this offense on schedule. And look, this defense was returning a lot of starters from last season, wasn't necessarily able to go ahead and take advantage of the Bucs in the air, but there were also some situations that led to that because really, we were coming into this situation. We were wondering about our offensive line. We're going to talk about that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Jaden Daniels didn't have a lot of time. Next up, they say another positive in this one was Brian Robinson, and talked about how he ran tough throughout the game and really tough in between the tackles. And I think he did a great job there. Totaled 89 yards, had the touchdown, and he really looked good as a receiver as well. I thought that Austin Eckler did a great job, but I think that Brian Robinson has improved as a pass catcher, which is going to be huge for our rookie quarterback. So I do like the way he ran the football after he caught that. And also, too, I like the way he did try to punish the defense inside. In fact, he had 3 receptions for 49 yards. He had a big 32-yarder in this particular game. And he also ran for 40 yards as well and got a touchdown. So that's a pretty good production on the ground and in the air. And I'm glad to see that he got 12 carries. I think that that's something that we wanted to see with Coach Ron Rivera last year. We wanted to see the Commanders run the football a little bit more. So I like the fact that we committed to running the football, even if it wasn't just Brian Robinson. I like the fact that we committed to using Jaden Daniels as well. Next up, I know he's not listed, but I think another positive and a stud in this game was Austin Ekeler. I talked about how Austin Ekeler was going to need to be a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels, and I think he did a terrific job. 4 receptions, 52 yards, and 22 is his longest. But the great thing about Austin Ekeler is he averaged 13 per on his catches, but he led us in receiving. And I thought that he was going to be a huge, impactful player. I know a lot of people were wondering, okay, does he have anything left? And I think that this is an indication that if the offense can get open down the field, I'm talking about our wide receivers, like the scary Terry McLaurin, who had a tough day. We'll talk about that. But I think as he starts to take the lid off defenses, I think that you're going to start to see Austin Ekeler get into some one-on-one matchups that he absolutely can win for us. All right. And so I think that that was another positive in this one. Okay. So next up, another thing that we talk about too is they talk about Pharrell and how he was able to go ahead and be an impact off the edge. I think that that is true. We needed that edge presence. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get home enough, but I liked his efforts. And so now we go into the negatives in game one, and it starts with Cade York, who, by the way, did just get cut by the Washington Commanders, but 0-2. And I think that, look, his kicks weren't necessarily the deciding factor of the game, but for a team that needed to get momentum and certainly needs to not make mistakes and stay in games, we needed that. And so I totally understand the fact that he did get cut. He missed, I think, some very makeable field goals. And who knows, if he makes those field goals, perhaps that does change maybe the momentum swing in this game. And perhaps maybe we make the Bucs maybe have to dig it out a little bit more in this particular game. Next up, I think it probably led the list for me as far as duds, but it was Emmanuel Forbes. I think that he was beaten very badly throughout. And this is very worrisome. Coming out of college, he was supposed to be a ball hawk corner for us. And I know he's not going to be a player like Darrell Green or Champ Bailey. Those are a couple of corners that we've had in the past. But, man, he has been getting we might as well just call him toast, because he has been getting burnt out there. And it's looked very bad. He even had a face mask penalty on one of the plays, which was just atrocious when you look at it. And I'll actually play the clip, but it was just terrible, man. With the kind of coverage that we got from the reports. And I'm really wondering, like, in this year with us. And I mean, you look at this horrible call, and actually it should have been a touchdown too, and they ended up scoring. But still, I mean, it's just been terrible mistakes by Emmanuel Forbes, and I just don't know if he's going to be this ball hawk corner that we went out and drafted. Next up, I think another thing for us is going back to Jaden Daniels and his struggle to really get the ball down the field. They talked about it with Andrew Wiley. All right. I think that he struggled at the tackle position. We knew that this was going to happen. This is something that I talked about along with Brandon Coleman starting, that they were going to be challenged up front. Okay. Because this was a very optimistic defense that we were going against with the Buccaneers. I think they were top 10 last season, and so they know how to generate pressure. Obviously, we know we have a rookie quarterback back there. So, that clock for him is definitely ticking a bit quicker, until you start to really find your way as a quarterback in this league. And so we knew that keeping him protected was going to be an issue. So, anyway, multiple pressures, a sack in this contest. That was a bit disappointing. Obviously, you want to make sure you get the max protection that you need for your rookie quarterback. But hey, I mean, that's just something that I think can possibly be fixed. And he was going against, again, a tough defensive unit up front. And so as a whole, I like where we're going with this one. I think that the secondary was absolutely a dud for me. Even when we look at it, man, Benjamin St-Juste gave up a couple touchdowns as well. And I mean, the one touchdown, Mike Evans just kind of manhandled him. All right. So, I mean, I just want to say that, like, he just literally pushed him off of him in man coverage, reached over him, grabbed it, and went into the end zone. And so I think just the takeaways from week one and this whole loss is that Dan Quinn, who we are looking for to be this defensive guru along with this head coach, he's got to figure out a way to fix this secondary, okay? Because they don't have to be a secondary that has to be perfect, but they have surely not got to give up big plays like this. And so, Washington has to figure this out moving into game 2. I think that I liked enough of what I've seen from Jaden Daniels, which suggests to me that he is going to, at some point, get on track with Terry McLaurin. I think that they're going to connect. They had 2 receptions, 17 yards there. I think that this might be one of the best quarterbacks that Scary Terry has played with. So, I believe that he is going to get something. I like the fact that we did use Luke McCaffrey. I was wondering what we were going to do. There was one time where we used a trick play with him. Zach Ertz, 3 for 28. So I think that we are going to be able to get some players involved in the rushing, or not the rushing game, but in the wide receiving game. And so I think that that is something that's going to happen. And so, look, we put up 20 points. Potentially, it could have been 26 if you add those 2 field goals. So I think that anytime you're scoring anywhere from 27 to 30 points a game, you should be in a lot of games. We just basically got baked when it came down to it with Baker Mayfield and that whole situation. And so, anyway, I think that we're in a good place going into next week, even though we took a tough one. Look, we're going against the Giants, and I'm curious to see if this secondary can come up big against Daniel Jones, because I do not think Daniel Jones is very good at all. In fact, I think he's very overrated. And I think that when you look at Malik Neighbors and his comments after the game, it suggests that they are already frustrated with what is going on in this passing game. So if Washington is not able to take advantage of New York in this next game, I'm going to be very concerned, but it's okay for now. You never want to take a loss, but I think it's a learning experience, but there's a lot of positives to take away. So let me know in the comments what you do think. This is Washington Commanders Insider. We're going to be talking tomorrow as we get ready for these New York Giants. And so I'll see you guys on the next one. This is Rico, Washington Commanders Insider. Peace, peace, peace.